That's what the NFL comes down to. That's not to say the Chiefs can't hang. They just aren't winning one-score games, and it's kind of what we feel like right now. Like we just aren't making the one or two plays necessary. So I guess if anything, I'm more encouraged by that idea. Going back through this, at least from just my initial takeaways, my notes during the game. But it's discouraging because it just feels like you're leaving games out there. Welcome everybody back to another post game live stream. Lions fall 9-16 to Philadelphia. Some goofiness at the end, no doubt, but definitely the ugliest performance from the offense so far this season. I mean, I guess outside of Green Bay, but Green Bay was week one. It was just not great. I don't think the fact that they weren't great offensively is a massive surprise, but it's more so just what they left on the field. It just felt weird. It felt weird. And this is the second game in a few weeks now where it felt weird. How the Lions just were unable to find the plays when they needed to, right? Like it was always, hey, this side would pick this side up. In this game, the defense picked up the offense, right? And then, special teams maybe picks up the special teams had an opportunity at a muff punt. We didn't pick it up there. Like little things like that. We just weren't able to pick each other up. And then when the offense needed to make a play, they didn't make a play, and we lost this football game. So defense did most of what they could in this game, and I was very impressed with how they played. I thought this is kind of how it would go. So it would go. I had them scoring 17. They scored 16, but they were put in some really tough spots. The fact they stopped the tush push twice was pretty amazing. It gave the Lions life in this game before the weird DPI. But even the possession after the tush push was an absolute disaster for our offense. Like the field goal right now, that's how rough it's looked. Like, let's just save our time. And the Lions like, no, we're going to try to score a touchdown. And you're watching and you're like, okay, I understand that because how close we are, right? Like we're close. So it makes sense to score a touchdown now. But man, the inability, like the next three plays were such a nightmare that you're just like laughing. Like, what is this? And we end up making the field goal. So ultimately, after the missed extra point, we end up making the field goal anyway there. Makes a 50-plus yard. There's like a lot of suspense, like it was going to be tough. And now he just knocked it right through. It was like, okay, that was no problem. That was weird. Very weird. And some of the decision making will be questioned here by Dan. I thought at the end it might as well go on side at this point. But it also made sense, if you did play the mathematical numbers, like, hey, they have a lot of 3 and outs, so do that. Had to stop if it wasn't for a defensive pass interference that, wasn't a defense pass interference. But obviously what we have to get to here is the offense. Goff on the day, 14 of 37, which is crazy. That doesn't even – I don't know what percentage that is. It doesn't even feel possible. 14 of 37, he had 255 yards. That's a lot of yards for 14 completions. It's insane. I mean, 7 yards average is good. The touchdown and pick, you live with that. 2 sacks, that doesn't look too bad either. But, dude, that's a nuts stat line. So we'll kind of walk through that a little bit. Rushing the football. Honestly, I didn't think it was as bad as maybe I thought it would struggle maybe a little bit more coming into this game. So I think they found more success than I would have expected. Like, they weren't outstanding, but Dave Montgomery did some work, 6 for 27. I think maybe you got to get Monty more involved in the run game in a game like this where it feels like he's having that kind of success. You might just have to lean on him a little bit more than you did. They finally did a little toss run, which I was like, oh, thank goodness. Like, we've been waiting for that. This was a team that, I think when we did have negatives, and I don't want this to sound like, after seeing it, it's kind of some bias towards it. Because I thought coming in, like, you can't have these long stretched out and outside zone stretch runs, those kind of things. They're too good up front. And they were. Like, this, if there's one thing that came true personnel-wise in this game, they were better up front than we were. Some of the schematic issues that we had at times. I liked the little trap run they threw in there. Obviously, we had another third down. We ran the ball and got like 2 yards, so it really didn't set us up that well either. But ultimately, I thought the rushing attack was fine for what I would have expected based on this matchup. We just probably didn't get to do it enough. We also popped another run, which is where they were playing 2 deep safeties. We checked into it, so it was fine. It was more so situationally disappointing than anything. I mean, we're about to run through the plays, but you have it on, a 3rd down and 1, you get stuffed, you go for it, you hurry up back to the line, you run it again, 4th down and 1, you go to the right side. I think it was like a duo, and that gets stuffed again. And it's like, we didn't pick up the first down there. Like that was the idea. It's like, hey, we didn't run the ball bad, but that was like the most crucial run plays in the game. And back-to-back times you didn't pick up the first down. Even the second one, it looked like Gibbs was going to get it, and he ends up running into Keogh's back. Keogh gets pushed back. He probably should have just leaned on that right side of the O-line where they were creating movement right at Jalen Carter with the double team, and it didn't happen. Carter was a dominant force. They came to life, especially when we kind of had to throw the football. We felt that. And I would say more than anything, you felt them batting the pass down. I don't know how many deflections they had. Let me see if I can check. At least 5 pass deflections between their defensive linemen. And, you also had an interception off of that early in this game, like to get things started. Was a deflected pass. I guess that was just going to be a theme for the game. A deflected pass that turns into an interception. Dominant up front. We at times had to get to some quick things. And then we did have opportunities and things that were set up. We didn't consistently take advantage. But the other disappointing thing is, like, again, 255 yards, you did create explosives. You had explosives in the pass game. It's not like you couldn't throw the ball at all. And you knew coming in, like, there was going to be a world to create explosives. I bet Gibbs, the disappointing thing about that is everything that I bet prop wise hit, except for the fact that we didn't win the game. Everything else hit, just not that. Gibbs had his, yards and his receptions, and I thought he'd be in for a lot of swing passes in this game. It was exactly that based on how they play schematically. That's kind of why I bet on that, and it played out that way. JMO got his touchdown. They went to him again, where it's like, he's about to get two of these things. Got 2 yards, so you felt that too. I don't think this game went unexpectedly. Like, at least in my eyes, it did not at all. Like, the fact that they were really good up front against their O-line, that's not a shocker in this game. The fact that they're really good in coverage, not really a shocker in this game. They are. They're very strong coverage. Cooper DeJean's flexible. Like, their linebackers really good in coverage. They are. Like that. Like, none of that is surprising to me. Very good defense. And even offensively, a lot of it was kind of as expected. I mean, you held Saquon, I think, a little bit more in check than maybe I would have expected. 3.2 a carry, and he popped one towards the end to steal the game. Like, you kind of held him in check. You didn't give up explosives again to him. That was great. And Hurts completed 50% of his passes. So defense, I mean, they did everything you could have hoped for in this game. The way that it played out was you knew coming in, like, okay, broken plays are going to be the challenge. We saw that. I think it was their biggest pass play. What was it, 30-some yards? 34 yards to Jahan Dotson was a broken play. It was a 2-deep coverage underneath zone, gets behind Amik Robertson out of the slot. So it was like, that's where their big play came from. You come in and like, how they going to create big plays? It's got to be a broken play. And they did that. So I think ultimately how the game played out isn't a big surprise. What is the biggest reason I would clearly point to for why you lost this game is that when that's how the game plays and it's low scoring, we saw this with Green Bay last week, like, you have to score when the opportunities are there, and we didn't. Or in our case, also, it was you have to convert some fourth downs maybe if you're going to go for them, and we didn't. We also tried to fake punt. We didn't get it. Set them up for a field goal. So there's a lot of that. And no quarterback is good under pressure. Like, no quarterback statistically is going to be consistently good under pressure. One might be for a year because he has some goofy stats. Quarterbacks are not consistently good under pressure. Now, you can't live in that world. Obviously, Goff isn't going to take off and run either, so there's that element of it too. Said, though, Goff had multiple miscommunications, which I put on him or not him, whatever. Multiple of those. Couple of easy missed passes, which is a problem. We had drops as well. The pressure really felt overwhelming towards the end of the game, right? That right side, Tate Ratledge. I mean, it started to feel overwhelming towards the right side. Jalen Carter was just picking on Tate Ratledge, and it was like, all right, we're just having to sit here and watch this happen. To a spot where that was just a game that you were playing. I mean, that's not where you want to be against these guys. But ultimately, like, even with all that said, even with all that pressure they were creating, there was like 6 or 7 opportunities. So the play that I think was a great summary of how the game went was the Jahmyr Gibbs pass. You had him at receiver, which was a nice wrinkle, and they used him well there. He stacked up in the slot. It was kind of your replacement for not having Laporta. And it's towards the end of the game. You have him running that drag. You run the play fake. You flip around. You throw it to him, and it's a little bit in front of him, and he doesn't catch the ball. And it's like, that would have been a first down. Instead, your drive stalls out from there. It's like that opportunity that you had a great look for it, and nothing happens. Defense, obviously, they played well in this game. They played really well. Defensively, Alex Anzalone was awesome, which is great. Amik Robertson, I think, did a lot of good. They found some things there. They had a couple of drops of their own as well. I guess in fairness, they dropped a lot of passes early in this game. And then the run defense, I think a really nice twist or, shake up to what they did stylistically was utilizing a very heavy defensive front. Lee McNeil came out at defensive end on the very first play. And some of that influence of like, hey, we're going to have 3 of our defensive tackles on the field at the same time. That element was nice. It felt like it was impactful against the run. More times than not, I was actually pretty pleased. Like, Reeder got his stuff in there. I mean, Aleem got a couple times upfield, missed a couple plays too. Tyleek did okay. He got pushed back on one of them, but I thought he did it fine. Like, for the most part, the fact that they, had that little wrinkle was good for this team. It made sense for the opponent. Lions end up getting a stop on that first drive where, you get an outside zone stop by Tyleek Williams. You go, I think it was zero coverage, and Rocky Sin's doing a good job. He did a good job for most of the game, Rocky Sin did. And then you have the scramble for a yard, right? Because, you didn't bring a 3-man rush. And the game plan coming in was make Jalen Hurts throw the football. You know what I mean? Like, it was, hey, let's make Jalen Hurts beat us by throwing the football. You can't let him beat you. And I say that as you want him to throw the football on schedule. If he's throwing the football on schedule, you give yourself a real shot. What you don't want to have happen is him turn into a broken play and then throw the football. Then you got problems. And they did that. They, for the most part, they had him thrown on schedule, and they found success because of it. When their offense did open up, it's the way that it's always opened up, and it's all opened up all year for them. And it's somewhat similar to Washington is you go single high coverage. You go single high to play the run. And if you do that and you don't in turn send extra blitzers or extra rushers to beat them to their play action sets, then all of a sudden you give up chunks. But Alliance had a nice wrinkle. They got aggressive in those spots. They brought some extra bodies, and they did match up at times in the back end there, and they took some of those away, and they didn't let him get to him. I think about the one sack between Roy Lopez and Brian Branch at midfield. What a massive play that was to bring the extra bodies on a play like that. They're running the dig post play action concept they run a ton of. That defensive pressure, that blitz on that spot was beautiful. It stopped them from scoring. It was fantastic. To get the plan seemed very strong by the Lions defensively, and I was very proud of what they did. I mean, the one, successful pass they had there was the quick little fake to the running back on like the toss, and he flipped back around and threw the slant and the cover 3 look. Like, okay, but you're not getting it downfield, so we'll live with that. I mean, even if you go to their first red zone stop they had where we held them to a field goal, you stay in 2 deep safeties. I mean, that play we actually were watching live, and it's like this slant to AJ. That's what you got to watch because as they run mirrored concepts, they run double slants, things like that, double post. They ran the double slants. Lions covered it up. Rocky Sin did a good job. Safety sat over top to give you some support, so you're glued to it. You're taking it away. Like, the game plan was very smart for them. I'm not going to say I was mind blown by what the defense did. I expected them to do this. And now that's not for me to say like, oh, defense, you better do, like, it's just realistically from what we've seen, even with the injuries, we knew most of these coming in. We also can look at Philadelphia's offense and say, hey, you're capable of this. And I'm giving defense credit now. It's like, it's another week where I'm proud of what the defense did. And they've showed like, hey, they can reach their expectation, their ceiling. Offensively, different story. Let's talk about that. Because it got off to a wacky start, right? You run the boot play, picks up 9. You swing it to Gibbs. Like, everything's, it's kind of doing its thing. And then you get a tip pass that turns into an interception on what would have been an open Brock Wright sitting down. And immediately that kind of set the trend for the rest of the game. Defense did their thing. They got us off the field, a 3 and out, right? You stop the flat, you bring the blitz, right? You bring the blitz on first down. Aleem gets a stop. Rocky Sin gets the pass breakup. Boom, we're back on it offensively. And then you get a negative 1 yard run to Gibbs. Ratledge loses his block. You get a sack. Tate Ratledge gets ran over. You get an incomplete pass to St. Brown, which was a little bit low. I think that one was not, that one wasn't catchable. He threw that one at the ground. That was, I don't know what that was. Fortunately, that was way too much of the game. Unfortunately, it was. Felt like watching go live. Tate did not have his best. Let's just say that. Got picked on a bit. It's a really good interior. Jordan Davis, Jalen Carter, Byron Young, Moro Ojomo. Like, they got dudes in the inside. So, coming in, that was the case. I think they had to help him out schematically. Maybe they didn't do the best of that at all times. But we felt that. We felt the impact of it. And again, we put them in some bad spots too. Defensively, again, did their thing. How about this? Trevor Nowatzki getting in on the action. He made the run stuff to get us off the field in a short yard situation. Man, how about that, dude? The short yardage run defense. MVP of the game situationally. Short yardage run defense. Outstanding. Because he gave the pitch for a first down. They take it down to get 6. Lacey gets to stop. They get 2. And you're like, okay, they can run at Lacey a bit here. And you get a run stuff by Trevor Nowatzki and DJ Reader at the point of attack. Like, oh, that was beautiful. I mean, short yardage run defense showed up. Jet handoff, which was nice. It was a nice wrinkle because their linebackers are getting upfield. We're not blocking them. They're flying upfield. So you run the jet, cool. You get Monty on the duo run, like getting downhill. Monty's doing his thing. You get the flat route and jumbo. And again, you're just quick. Get the ball out of your hands. Quick to the flats. Understand it. Cover 6, cover 4. That's their base. So get it to the flat. Even 3 buzz. Get it to the flats. Let us go catch and run. Like, that's very smart schematically. You finally get a zone beater. You run the hammer concept, hitch, dig behind it. Bam. We're moving. And then you get a little cute and you try kind of that full house look. You got Monty taking direct snap, runs the read. You end up picking up 2 yards. Tesla's in the backfield. Maybe that wasn't it there. You throw the drag away because there's some heat on 2nd down and long. Now we're in 3rd down and long. And you hand it off. You get 2 yards. Tate Ratledge gets hurt. So you didn't run the ball as well as you would have thought that you would there. And I think ultimately, and I could be mistaken, but let me double check. I think we punted from there. We punted from that spot. So we punted from the Philadelphia 40-yard line. We took from the 40-yard line, we punted on 4th and 6, which is kind of strange because it feels like it didn't match the approach of the game. But there is very big statistical differences between going for it on 4th down and 2 and 4th down and 6. But either way, it felt like that was kind of who they were going to be. So it's kind of weird they didn't just lean all the way into it. I guess when they did, they were just like, the game's in a different spot now. But I don't know. Either way, the defense does their thing. They get a drop on 3rd and 8. They're disguising coverages on 3rd down. I love that. When you get them into a pass down, disguise some coverages. Aleem and Jack Campbell make a play defensively. Offense gets back out there. And honestly, Tristan Colon, he only played a handful of snaps, seemed to do a pretty good job. I mean, look, I'm going to be honest, man. And we'll see where Tate's at. I don't know. I need to see the snaps again. But there does seem to be a world in which maybe Tristan Colon needs to be on the field a little bit. 6 yards and 2 yards on a cutback. And then here's the goofy sequence. I mean, it's 3rd and 2. You get no yards. It's 4th and like 1.5. You get 1 yard, but you don't get the first down. Like that sequence, back-to-back times behind that right side, not getting the first down. I think Gibbs left that on the table for us. Not getting that. But it was also kind of weird too, because you had a weird balance, right? Like you're throwing it, and then you come out and you run, 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 run. I don't think it's overreaction to say this was disgusting. Like that's not an overreaction. This was disgusting. But I also acknowledge I believe Philly has a very good defense. So I didn't think there was a world in which they could light up the scoreboard. I really didn't. As like I said, I was like, I'd be shocked that they could put up 27. I didn't think that was on the table. But look, if they capitalize in just a few of those key spots, they're probably, kind of in the world I thought they'd be in. I think it's more disappointing because you felt like there's more potential within this. It's not even to me that much that Mahogany's not in there. It's Tate Ratledge has had some inconsistencies. I think the last couple of weeks he settled in. This week he went against maybe the best interior defensive lineman in football in Carter, and he picked on him. It felt like in this game, and it was like, yeah, that doesn't look great. Like it just was what it was. And then especially starting to throw, it's like this looks even worse. So I don't think it's like panic mode, but obviously they don't have the best offensive line in football right now. A lot of teams have issues up front. So this stuff can continue to improve. And I'm not overly concerned right now. But I think that's just the world that they live in, where if that's the case, you don't have as much margin for error when you play a defense this good. When you play a secondary that's legit, one of the better pass defenses, and specifically, you play a defensive front that is nasty on the interior. Like you don't have a massive margin for error because that's going to give you some problems. And not every team has that. You know what I mean? But Philly does. The cover one post play, that was covered up well, incomplete, kind of taking a shot there. They ran the fade, that was incomplete. Amik, incomplete on the curl route. They went 3 straight throws on their end. We get them off the field. Man, make them throw the football. You're probably in a good spot. We did that. Well done. Offensively, you get back out there. Again, things are good. Things are good, right? 4-yard power run. Better than I would have thought. Back to the flat 4 yards. Hey, we'll take that. Okay, 3rd and 2. This is the world, right? This is where you're supposed to live in. And you miss a pass to St. Brown. It was a good pocket, actually. He runs that kind of like inbreaker, and Goff throws it way behind him. I don't know what that was. They were talking about man zone. Like if it was zone, he obviously should have sat it down, and Goff kind of threw it there, but it was man. It surprised me that Goff wouldn't have recognized that. Eventually, we ended up having that really nice drive. They kind of dug into their bag a little bit. They had the over or the crossing route they did with Amon-Ra St. Brown, where they ran him through the offensive line. Like that was a good stylistic approach there to score the touchdown. I think Dan kind of mentioned that they kind of had to dig in their bag a little bit to find some success. And then defensively, giving up that touchdown before half, and it was the counter pull run which ended up popping for them. That really was an explosive for their offense. It's something that we've been a little bit inconsistent dealing with in the past as well. And that kind of led to that. And then off of that, they went to the inside zone, which they popped with bouncing it outside for 7 more yards, which is kind of where they make their money anyway. So you can expect that a few of those are going to happen. I probably thought more often that was going to happen, but that led us to single high. Now it's cover 3. They do the little run toss fake. And they quickly hit the slant. Smart adjustment for them offensively, not necessarily like looking at it like they had to go get the explosive. Obviously, that part of the field wouldn't have made sense either on that spot either. And then they end up punching it into the end zone. So I thought it was a smart approach for them there. I wish we would have been more aggressive. Then you come out in the second half, and again, the approach is strong. Like the swing patterns back to back, right? You get the check down and you get swing pattern, boom, that's 23 yards right there. But then we run a stretch run, and it's like, I don't like that run scheme. It's too slow. We end up gaining a yard on the play. You go back to the flats, 5 more yards. Like that kind of thing was working. It's why it makes it even more disappointing that some of these runs timely were just not it. And then you get to a spot now where, okay, now it's 3rd and 4 at this point. You throw an incomplete pass to Amon-Ra St. Brown on a post route. That one's incomplete. You had pressure, so that made sense. And then you throw it to J-Mo. It's a little bit low, hits him in the knees. Dude doesn't even get his hands on it. That's incomplete. So situationally, you're just not making the play when it's there. The checkdowns were there. That was not there. So some of those, you just got to convert, just simple as that. You got to convert into some of those spots. But it's also disappointing. Some of the runs were just killers when we had them timely. Defensively, again, they did their thing, a 4-yard run, a 5-yard run. They get called for a false start, which is nothing new. I mean, Philly has beaten themselves with pre-snap penalties so far this season, so that's expected. Duracell does a great job in coverage. Hutch gets some pressure. We get them off the field with another incomplete pass. Offensively, again, we start moving the ball again, and then we don't score at the 3-yard line. So, again, you're moving the ball both times, crossing the 50 here. 6-yard run the stretch. That one did hit to Monty. Shout out to Monty again. Monty was rolling. But a 42-yard screen to Amon-Ra St. Brown, which was beautiful. Sewell got out there. Hey, people want to hate on the screens. The screens were actually working against these guys, probably with a lot of that 2 deep coverage. Outside zone goes for 2, but the inside run went for 5. The trap went for 11. Like, that's the kind of runs I wish we would have lived into a little bit more. Maybe there's some questioning of leaving Gibbs on the field when you then go to the out route, which he caught it, but it was kind of weird. And he gained 2 yards there. And it's like, all right, we had more on the table. And then you get a 2-yard run on a little power play. Gibbs had an opportunity, kind of looked like he was going to bounce off and score a touchdown. He didn't. I feel like if that was Monty, he would have there. Then you go to Gibbs again on an inside zone. He gains a yard. And gaining that yard there, now you're like, okay, we need 3 yards, so we're throwing it. So Monty comes in. Now they know we're throwing it. We have to go back to the end zone. Doesn't have time to hit the crossing route. So we end up getting taken off the field again in that spot. So we had our opportunities. We converted at times. Timeliness was awful for the Lions offense in this game. Just timely, like, just not things coming together at all, like at all for us. And then again, defensively, they kind of just held us in it, right? They get us the field because Meek Roberts is jamming Devontae doing his thing. They have to go the opposite way. Hutch and Lopez combined for a sack. It was a very smart time to blitz in that spot. The only reason that drive got any kind of legs to it is because the broken play, they picked up 34 yards. Again, offensively, like, there was success here, a 33-yard screen. Like, again, another explosive. That should lead to some sort of points. We don't get any points once again. And you run that comeback route to St. Brown. That one's incomplete. Mitchell covered it well. That's understandable. You run the dig route to Tesla. That should have been caught off his hand. The screen pops. Finally, they tossed to Monty. I was like, thank goodness. And that was 7 yards. That was good. But then you run the boot play. They bring the 2 blitzes off the edge. We didn't seem that prepared for it, so the ball gets just thrown at the ground. Then you get to a third down play, and all of a sudden there's pressure through Tate. Tate allows, gets batted down to the line of scrimmage. That's one of those spots where I like to see this, like, Tate hit him in the chest a little bit. Then it's a 4th down to 3, so we're going for it again. You definitely could argue you should have played the field position game maybe in some of these spots. Your defense was getting stops regardless. And it's just like, it didn't even look like they were on the same page with St. Brown. Like, this was the weirdness, like the confusion there. And if they were on the same page, I don't know where Goff was throwing it. It was like, it wasn't even in the vicinity. Curl, it was strange to watch that happen. That was the second time that happened. I don't know how that happens. Maybe it was a check at the line of scrimmage. Maybe it was just an awful throw. I don't know, but someone's not locked in here, because now we're talking about drops, missed passes, and weird confusion. All 3 things came into play in timely spots. One thing that happens on first down, happened on 4th down. Dean McNeil got a stop. They get called for a holding. The quarterback draw ends up popping for 11 yards. That was, kind of their success offensively. DJ Reader ends up falling down. Jack Campbell holds the vertical shot incomplete, which was just a missed pass, to be honest with you. Another throwaway. Then they get 6 more yards. They try to work the slant route. You're playing the game exactly that you want them to play. And then again, offensively, like, you get started the right way. They're playing cover 4. Great. We're good. This is like our last gasp right here. Cover 4. Cool. We're going to check into the run. Bam. We hit the outside zone. First down. And then all of a sudden you have to throw it away. Tate Ratledge gets beat. You're throwing it away. Okay. There's no chance there. Now it's 2nd down to 10. You run a hitch. It's incomplete. He throws it low. It's incomplete. It's like, okay, I don't know how we don't complete that. Then, and that one should have been there. Like, Goff kind of like threw it a little bit low, still catchable, but that one was one where it was like, it's got to be better than that. That was just a very unconfident type of throw in that spot. And then he just rips one. This was one where it was like, in back of your mind, like, you just got to fire it. And you're watching this, and as I'm seeing it, I'm like, okay, he just ripped it. I love that. And Dory freaking Jackson makes the play on St. Brown. You're not expecting that at all. Comes flying in there, breaks it up on the sideline. That's not what you would expect in that spot, but he makes the play. Credit to him in that spot, stops it 1-on-1. And that spot, we would have went for it anyway, because at least he ripped the pass. I mean, I would have liked to just take my chances, but the battle becomes, you make that many mistakes offensively. You leave that much out there against a very good secondary already. At some point, they're also going to make some plays. And timely, there's a play that they made. Just left way too much on and you got dude, you shouldn't have lost this game, to be honest with you. You left so much out there. I mean, offensively, you get the tush push, they get the false start, you get back out there offensively again, you try to run a fake screen, a screen back the other way. I think this is in a different spot in their game. But yeah, this is actually a little bit earlier in the game. Earlier in the game, you try to run the screen one way, fake screen back the other way. You might as well go through it anyways. That fell incomplete because Nolan Smith gets upfield. Tate gets blown blocked. That throws an incomplete pass. You run an in-breaker to JMO. That one finally pops open. It's like, all right, we had some time. We got it. And then you run the drag. That's the little play fake to Gibbs. That was a little in front, kind of dropped it. All right, cool. Batted pass again. You run the wheel route, but that one really had no shot. Nobody blocked on the left side. So there was a lot of that. To me, this wasn't just one exact thing, especially when you start to look through like the different issues here. You stuff the tush push. Okay, offense gets back out there. Fake toss. JMO, run up field. He's like running it flat against an underneath defender. Like if he pushes at a field, he's behind his zone. He's running it flat. So that's not open. Okay, now it's 2nd and 10. Nakobe Dean runs over Dave Montgomery. Now we're sacked. Now it's 3rd down. Now you're forcing a dagger into a window. That's not going to be there. They're sitting on the sticks. It's 3rd and 17. He's just sitting there, and Dan was about to go for it. Before I get feel he's about to go for it. He's like, we might go for this. Like, so, and that would have been crazy, by the way. But he was thinking about it. He was thinking about going for it in that spot. And then we lost, the DPI or whatever. But the point being is it was across the board issues. Goff, you would like to see way more consistency there. Probably 3 or 4 legitimate, just what is that kind of throws. That needs to be better. Also, a couple of them look like communication issues, which is strange. Offensive line had a rough day when we got to that spot. And you could see they really started teeing off on us. And we also just left some very makeable things out there as well, like things that we should connect on. And we just weren't consistent at all in this game. And obviously last week we found it through play action. This week we were going to have to find it through drop back. And it's hard to do that in general in the NFL, to find consistent success as a consistent drop back passing team, especially against this defense front, against that coverage unit. It's not gonna work that well. The problem is if it's not gonna work that well, you have to make them happen in crucial spots. And we never executed in crucial spots. And we didn't have 1 or 2 plays, like the 4th down dead 3-yard line. We didn't get it there. We didn't get a block that allowed us to get it there. You know what I mean? Or man, the one to Saints, like, where are we throwing that? Like, you just didn't have them in the critical spots where that could be enough. As ugly as it is, that could be enough. And it feels like that with a lot of our losses this year, especially the last 2. It's like you were a playoff, man. You just didn't have enough. So I would say for me, honestly, and just going back through it after reading through those notes, it's very disappointing. It's less discouraging reading back through it because you're like, dude, this is not like you didn't have a chance. You were right there the entire time. A lot of it's defensive related. It's like, dude, it's frustrating. It's frustrating as well. I still tend to believe historically, because of what I've seen for this team, they're going to get this thing right. But it's just tough. Like, I know this team could play with, I feel like they can play with literally anybody. And I think this was a very big, test for that, to just see how they could hang up front. And I was actually way more impressed about what I was concerned about how the defense front was going to hang up. I thought they held up really well. The offensive front was more disappointing than maybe what I would have expected. So, and they still found some success rushing football, which is probably better expected. You just constantly put them in really bad positions. So, to be honest with you, like, from a personnel spot, I feel like, okay, we can play with these guys. And that's a great takeaway. The flip side is, as much as you feel like that, you got to make plays to win football. You got to make plays to win football games. And it's why the PI is unfortunate, but like, against really good teams, like, a lot of these are close games. It's how the NFL is. Chiefs haven't won a 1-score game this year. They're 5-5. Like, that's what the NFL comes down to. That's not to say the Chiefs can't hang. They just aren't winning 1-score games. And it's kind of what we feel like right now. Like, we just aren't making the 1 or 2 plays necessary. So I guess, if anything, I'm more encouraged by that idea, going back through this, at least from just my initial takeaways, my notes during the game. But it's discouraging because it just feels like you're leaving games out there. So I'm going to leave it there. I appreciate you joining.